Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Owner's Box After Dark. I'm your host, Mark Farinella, the former assistant sports editor, Patriots beat writer, sports columnist, award-winning individual, and basically nice guy at a newspaper here in southeastern Massachusetts. And this is episode 49 of the After Dark series, and I have a special treat for you. But first, let's get into the meatiest issue of the day, and that is the heat. Holy God, is it hot here. We're in about the third or fourth day of a legitimate heat wave here outside the palatial confines of Fulton Pond Studios in Mansfield, Massachusetts. And we're trying to stay cool inside here, although the air conditioning is actually overmatched for the first time since we got it in 2014. The temperature here today. Alexa. Hello, Alexa. What's the temperature here in Mansfield, Massachusetts?
Right now, in Mansfield, Massachusetts, it's 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, expect a low of 72 degrees.
Thank you very much.
Anytime.
Okay. I have a thermometer thing in the backyard that also gives me the heat index, and the heat index, it says, is 102. There's a thermometer on the front of the house that says 107, but that's because it's getting the afternoon sun directly on it. Inside, I have my air conditioning set at 65 degrees, which is a lot lower than I would normally have it. In fact, I would normally have it only at about 66 at night, and then I bring it up to about 70, 71, 72 in the daytime. Sometimes I shut it off altogether. But the thermometers in the hallway at the thermostat says it's 74 inside the house. Here within the studio, it's allegedly 76. So as you can see, it's not handling it too well. So as a result, the drink of the day is it looks like a specimen bottle. It is the Trenta black tea lemonade with 3 Splendas from the local Starbucks. Yes, this is the big one. This is the one that gives the kidneys a workout. Yeah, I'm all over myself. And keeping with the theme of lemon, of course, the mood candle of the day is our favorite right now, the Sicilian lemon, sitting next to another Sicilian lemon. Yeah, I know, I did that gig in the last one. Okay, I don't like having extra heat in here, but the smell is nice. Even my friends, the birds in the backyard, seem to have run for cover today, so let's get into the actual reason why we're here today on the Owner's Box. After dark. And of course, it's not after dark yet, but hey, it wouldn't be that if I didn't have Hugh Hefner's pipe. My interview today is with a 4-time guest, so you're probably saying, oh, Mark, well, you get some different people on here, but there's a good reason for this. And she is a good friend, and you all know her. She is Missy Traversi, the former Bishop Fee High School basketball, tennis, and swimming standout, who went on to the University of Maine to play basketball and then played professionally, got a tryout with the Chicago Sky of the WNBA, got into coaching, is doing all sorts of great things, and now she's taking on a new job at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. Yes, Army. And that's quite a gig. The previous coach, Dave McGarity, had been there for 15 years, retired. He is about 6 or 7 years older than I am, so I'd retire too if I was still working like that. And so Missy's come in to put her unique stamp on a program that already is steeped in tradition. And it's not necessarily a basketball tradition as much as it is the tradition of our nation and the reason for the existence of West Point. So Missy is obviously, as you know, very enthusiastic and very committed coach, very demanding of herself and very demanding of her athletes, but she also makes it fun. Now, one big question I ask her during this whole thing is, can the Missy Traversi style adapt to a military academy, and not only a military academy, but the military academy. Sorry, Annapolis. Sorry, Air Force Academy. Props to both of them. In fact, my dad was a Navy guy. He didn't go to Annapolis. He was a chief petty officer in World War II, and as he told me, chiefs run the Navy, so he didn't have to be an officer, but he was a gentleman. Certainly, Army has great tradition. Leaders of this country by the boatload. That's a kind of a mixed metaphor there, and Missy is not a commissioned officer. She's not a lieutenant colonel or a brigadier general or anything like that. Although, as I said to her at the end, I said, if you bring this team to the NCAAs, you should get a commission. But she's adapting, she's learning, but she's also bringing the experience that she's had in probably about 13 years now of coaching and putting herself fully into it. So she's all hunkered in and at the post, as she calls it. It's a military academy. It's not Stanford. It's not UMass. So I think it's a great interview. I'm glad she did it just before summertime really hits and we all go on vacations. So without further ado, here is my latest interview with Melissa Missy Traversi. My guest today is someone familiar to the audience. In fact, this will be her fourth appearance on the Owner's Box, but there always seems to be something new with Missy Traversi. The former Bishop Fee High School standout, of course, University of Maine standout, played professionally in Sweden for 2 years, two separate terms in there, and then came back and started a lengthy coaching career. Now her coaching career has taken her to Division I and to a very hallowed place, the United States Military Academy at West Point. Missy, it's been a while since I've talked to you. The last time we chatted on the Owner's Box was in December of 2020. A lot of things have happened in the world in those and all that time, but the best thing I think that happened was that you got the Army job. Congratulations and welcome to the Owner's Box.
Thank you, Mark. Always a pleasure seeing you, my friend, and speaking with you. And always looking forward to sharing something new. It's been a busy few months here, transitioning to Army West Point, learning a lot, and I'm definitely surrounded by some pretty incredible people.
I can imagine, and we'll get into a lot of that. The last time I spoke to you, you had just been just about that close to having another major disappointment at Adelphi University, and it wasn't Adelphi's fault. It was the pandemic's fault. You had your tournament appearance canceled the previous year, and then we get into what would have been the 2020-2021 season, and then all of a sudden the schools decided to pull the plug on the season, and most of the Northeast 10 as well, although a couple of teams ended up playing somewhere along the way. But in all, you had a great career there in your 5 years there, two seasons with 27 wins, and certainly great credentials to go on to the next level. And why don't you talk to me a little bit about how this job came about? Because I don't think, if I know correctly, you really weren't actively looking for this one when all of a sudden the opportunity arose.
I was not. Yeah, we had our season canceled. We were doing weekly Zooms with our team and connecting on a virtual platform, but we were not practicing, and the season had officially been canceled. I was in touch with my players pretty consistently and the coaching staff, but on the whole, yeah, we were just on pause. I think life was just on pause. And I had decided during that time, I think it was in February, that I was going to go visit some family and friends in Florida. And I ended up going down there. I played quite a bit of tennis. And
which you were very good at.
I love tennis. I love tennis. And actually I took it up during COVID, which I'm actually happy because my game.
Well, you used to play it at Bishop Fee. Come on, don't lie to the.
Yeah,
you didn't take it up fresh.
Shout out to Paul Perry, Bishop Fee High School. We had some pretty cool teams over at Bishop Fee in my 4 years. But yeah, so I was in Florida and just relaxing, visiting, taking some downtime that I don't normally get, and I received an email from an executive search firm. And honestly, Mark, I thought it was a spam email. I thought it was a joke. Like I didn't think it was had legs to it.
Yeah.
So I ended up holding it up to my friend. I said, what do you think?" And he was like, you need to respond. And they had said, this is so and so from this executive search firm, and we're looking for candidates. We've identified you as a candidate for the head women's basketball coaching job. Would you be interested in speaking to a member of our senior leadership team? And so I quickly wrote back and I said I would be interested. Anything I'd ever heard about Army West Point was next level. And as you know, with my personality, I'm always looking for challenges and opportunities to grow as a leader and as a coach. And I thought, what better way than to dive into an interview process with Army West Point and learn more about kind of where they're at. And it started with an initial phone call with the search firm, and then from there, I was lucky enough to speak to a member of the senior leadership team, and then obviously the senior women's administrator, then my athletic director, my current boss, and there were a ton of panels. So it was a lengthy process, and it was done, most of it virtually. So there was a lot of Zooms and long interview questions, and but well worth it. And every layer, I got deeper and deeper into West Point. I felt like, wow, this fits me. This fits who I am, my style, my personality, my sense of rigor and discipline. And I really felt like it was a perfect match. And it really just took me being here and getting my feet on post and meeting the cadet athletes to kind of seal the deal. But yeah, I couldn't be happier, Mark. And I mean this like genuinely. Every day I wake up on this post, and I am grateful because not a lot of people get to live out their dream of coaching Division I, but coaching Division I around people that you really have to be at your best for every day, because that's what they're doing. So matching that intensity each and every day is really rewarding for me. So it's really a match made in heaven. I haven't played a game yet, but record hasn't been proven. I have a lot to learn and a long way to go, but we have a hungry group of women, and they're definitely bought into what we want to do here. So I think it's a win-win.
Just quickly, do you have any regrets at all about leaving Adelphi? I mean, aside from the success you had there, you were also an assistant athletic director. I think there was a lot of love there for you while you were there. But, I think it's also part of the college basketball experience that people know that, coaches are going to leave for one reason or another. And any regrets lingering?
I wouldn't say regrets. I would say the friendships and relationships that I built there with the players and then with the administration. I hope that they stay with me, and I hope we can stay in touch and continue to connect. I have I'm Emily Michelli, Julia Strachan. I mean, local Sarah Dio. I would say that the Sarah Dio is a little upsetting for me, because I know she came to Adelphi to play for me, and I wanted to do that. I wanted to coach her, and her and I, we've had a lot of heart to hearts. And she said, Coach, I'm really proud of you, and I know this is a dream of yours. So she's been great. Emily's been great. Julia's moved on, obviously, to Division I. Can't wait to follow her success. But yeah, I guess I regret maybe the Sarah piece. But on the whole, I feel like I did all I could at Adelphi, and everyone was really supportive when I had the opportunity of a lifetime. And Danny McCabe, my former boss, went above and beyond to make sure that I was ready for the interview, and he did all he could to help me get this job. So I owe a lot to Adelphi. No way I would be here without Adelphi. No way. It will always have a special place in my heart.
We'll return to our interview with Missy Traversi after these words from one of our sponsors. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the owner's box after dark. I hope you've been enjoying washing your hair as much as those fellows you just saw did. Boy, they really got into it, didn't they? Okay, it's time to return to my interview with the new head coach of the women's basketball team at Army West Point, Attleboro's own Missy Traversi. So now you've got a coveted Division I job, and I know they're very hard to come by. I mean, every now and then there's a flurry, it seems, of openings, but for the most part, you really have to bide your time to get to one. I'm also assuming that there are some fundamental differences between the U.S. Military Academy at West Point and other Division I schools, and not just schools like UConn and Stanford and Tennessee and that level, but also between Army and your fellow Patriot League members, such as Holy Cross and Boston University. I mean, there is a fundamental difference in terms of the commitment and what it stands for and all that. Tell me what you've learned about that to this point.
Yeah, it's a unique school here, a unique place. It takes a special type of individual. I think it takes an individual to see something bigger than just basketball. And that's what the sell is here at Army. You're not only signing up to be a Division I collegiate athlete, but you're signing up to serve your country for the next 5 years after you graduate. And what I'm learning is it's really rewarding to be side by side with young women who want to believe in something bigger than just the individual. And I mean, I say this all the time in recruiting, but when you sign up for Army, you sign up for the greatest team in the country. And Army is about people. The academies, they say Navy is about ships, Air Force is about planes, and Army is about people. And we build winning teams here. And that, for me, that really gives me chills, because that's what I'm doing here. As the head coach of the Army Women's Basketball Program, we're building a team. And to have that bubble around me, to have that leadership laboratory around me, just kind of supports what I'm trying to do here. But yeah, it's a unique place. It's not for everyone. Compared to the Patriot League, we don't really deal with the transfer portal, and I know that's crazy right now. And we also don't get as much time with our athletes as other Patriot schools do. You look at the summer right now. There's players on campus. Our opponents, their players are going through their systems, and they're instilling their culture, and they're putting down the framework for their offense and their defense. And we're not able to do that. But the cool thing is, our women right now, they're out doing their military details for the summer, and they're building for their future careers as officers. So I look at it a little bit differently. Like, they're out there being warriors in different ways, and they're growing as leaders in different ways. They might not have a Spalding or a Wilson in their hand, but by golly, they're learning how to sacrifice, and they're learning how to. They're up early in the morning, 5 o'clock, and they're held accountable for certain standards. And I mean, isn't that what we do as basketball coaches and as basketball players? So it's not like they're not working towards the ultimate goal, which is winning. And in the Army, you win or you lose. And here in my program, you win or you lose. So it's really consistent. The themes are consistent. I do wish we had more time with our athletes, but I'll take what I can get at this point. So I'm not disappointed at all, but there is definitely a difference in other Patriot schools and how they function versus how we function.
You mentioned culture, and we chatted about this on the phone at one time. It seems to me that wherever you've gone since you became a college coach, and even before, even in your high school days, you've been a culture changer. You've established a new atmosphere, a new way of approaching the sport, and approaching the commitment it takes to do that, whether it was at Attleboro or Wheelock or Adelphi. But it's natural to assume that in many ways there is a specific culture already in place at Army West Point. And now how it pertains to basketball is more your neck of the woods than mine, but it just seems to me that the history and the tradition and the importance of what goes on in Army, maybe a culture that being in place. Have you had to learn how to adapt your approach to a culture that's in place, or is there room for the Missy Traversi approach to basketball, which is, certainly very enthusiastic, very committed, but it's also fun, and I would hope that there's room for that in there. Have you noticed in just the brief time you've been there, have you had to change, or can you adapt and make them change a little bit?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really cool question, Mark. I think it's a little bit of both. I really feel like right now I'm in a situation where there are, my athletic directors, my support staff, they brought me in because they wanted to bring that type of personality and fun and joy to the program. Not saying they haven't had it in the past, but I think they were looking for more of a fresh perspective and someone that was willing to give that energy and that enthusiasm. I know the players have really responded to it, but I do have to adapt to the time constraint. There's not a lot of time here. It's the most valuable thing. And they have a very strict schedule. They're waking up in the morning with their companies, and they're going to their breakfast and their classes, and then they're going to lunch, and then they've got to walk up the hill and they see us and we get our required time. And of course we want more, but we only get that allotment. So from there, they end up going to, study hall and dinner, and then the night's over, and it's repeat after that. I'm accustomed to having players stroll into my office whenever they want and get shots up whenever they want. That's not gonna, Army's not changing. The military's not changing. This has been the schedule, and this is what you have to adapt to. And in that regard, I'm going to have to adapt, and we have as a coaching staff. But it's definitely, you can still win here. Dave McGarity did it before. He's done it a few times. I certainly think we have a recipe here that we can win. So I'm not going to use it as an excuse. I'm going to use it more as a driving force and a reason why we can win, because we do have the elements that other schools don't have that work to our advantage, not our disadvantage.
I would think one of those elements might be the caliber of the athlete that you are able to recruit. And by that, I mean maybe more personality traits, maybe more other than basketball traits. As you've mentioned, they have to be willing to accept the 5-year commitment to military service after they graduate. Now, granted, they're officers when they come out, and that's nice, but it's still a huge responsibility, especially in today's world. So they have to be willing to make that commitment way down the road from just the immediate bouncing of a basketball. So that's one difference. And so I would assume that the person that makes that commitment has something special going for her. And I know you're just starting your own recruiting right now. You're going to be very busy at it shortly. But I also know that you've got a couple of people who've already, given a commitment. So what are you finding so far in that?
Yeah, I'm finding that, well, first of all, yes, they're future officers, and yes, they're signing up for a commitment. There's a toughness and a grit, but they're still just young women that struggle with normal college kid issues, insecurity, self-doubt, fear of failure, being a perfectionist. They're not immune to that as women. And so that's kind of where I come in and I say, okay, I've done this before. I've dealt with some women that really struggle with confidence. I've dealt with these issues. So they're not immune to it here at Army. I wish they were, but that's okay. That's why we're hired to come in and support them and encourage them and help them through their stuff. We all have that stuff. But yeah, in terms of like their toughness, in terms of, embracing failure, I think that's what's really resonated with me is like, they mess up and it's a quick response. Like, I don't have time. I don't have like 5 minutes or 10 minutes to throw myself a pity party. I've got people beside me that are relying on me. I've got people that have to look out for me. I have to look out for them. There's this sense of like, am I reliable? And can I recover quickly from my mistake? And I have seen that with them. So I would say just their overall ability to have a growth mindset and embrace failure, I guess, as a teacher has been really, really cool to be a part of. We can get better at it, but it's definitely different than other schools I've been at. I think you spend a lot of time on your culture, instilling that. And whereas here, I think they're getting it 24/7 down the hill with the military and the academic rigor. So that's really nice. That's really nice.
Now, can you still be a disciplinarian when these kids face so much more discipline elsewhere? I mean, they're not. It's not your average college. I mean, let's face it. Like you just said, they are right now. They're out on what they do during the summer, which is to learn how to be soldiers, and so you have to really. I mean, I know that there's a thing in my head that tells me that maybe somebody who might want to play sports at a military academy might see that as a bit of a respite from the daily demands. But then again, you have to make demands, and you want excellence out of your program. How does that dovetail with the the environment that you're in? Can you be Lieutenant Colonel Traversi? I guess.
No, and I am not Lieutenant Colonel Traversi, but that's funny. Yeah, I can be. And what's nice is that I can be myself, Mark, and I don't have to change who I am to fit this institution. I think it's just a really nice marriage between who they are and what they believe in, and kind of my upbringing and what I believe in and what I think equates to success. They see my fierce competitive drive. They know when I'm happy or sad. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry with me. I try to over communicate. I try to be very transparent with where I'm at. And sometimes that comes across on the edgier side, which, it means I'm a little bit more hard-nosed and more of a disciplinarian. But yeah, the mentality can't be they're down the hill all day and their higher ranking officers are laying it down, or they're disciplining them, and then they come up to see me and then I level down. Like, it can't be that. So I have to meet them in that space of excellence. And, there's something funny we talk about here on staff. It's like every morning our cadet athletes, they rise and they have to eat excellence. Like, that's the standard here. Like, you have to level up every single day. And when you have a bunch of people doing that, that's where you really improve as humans, from a leadership standpoint, from really, gosh, the whole person. But yeah, I don't think they should. In fact, I don't want that to be the mindset where they get to see me and they get to just say, "Oh, we get to go have fun for 2 hours and loosey goosey," and it's not that. It's man, we're here to win a championship, and that requires attention to detail. That requires everyone to be on it in their specific position. And when we do that, we have an opportunity to do some great things. So no, Mark, the answer is They have to meet me in that space of excellence. There's no leveling down. It's all leveling up.
Well, I'd also think too that the hardest working teams in sports are usually the ones that are the most successful too. And from that, I think you can derive fun, because fun is winning. Winning is everything in many times. And so I think if they can adapt to that, I know you're good at preaching that, and you have every step of the way. But let me ask you though, have you seen now at this stop, are you a different coach now than maybe you were when you started at Adelphi?
Without a doubt. Every year.
What makes you different?
Yeah, I think it's just the experience, and I think it's what you gain through either a season or maybe an experience that didn't go well. I think it's just 1 year. Every single year you get smarter. Every single year you gain more knowledge. Every single year you evolve. And as coaches, we have to evolve. My goodness, like, no way I'm the same coach when I first started at Adelphi that I am now. It's just not the case. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing, because I don't know if I'd have the opportunity if I didn't change. I think that certain situations, certain lineups, certain situations, look at the pandemic, like, you have to pivot. You have to pivot as a human being, especially in a leadership role. So I think my willingness to do that has allowed me to have these opportunities. And I hope that I can continue to keep growing and keep learning and surrounding myself with the right people so I can stay in this profession for a while. Like you said, it's very competitive. This is my opportunity. This is my shot. And I'm very fortunate to have it. And I credit Mike Buddy and and the administration team for giving me this incredible opportunity. And I want to make them proud. I want to make this program proud, my family proud. It's not pressure. I think, shoot, you hear it a lot, but I think pressure is a privilege. And it's certainly a privilege to wake up on this campus every single day.
I've never been to West Point, although two family friends went there way back in the 70s. But I never had the opportunity to go, and I will visit you. I promise at some point.
You got to come, yeah.
I will. But I understand it's beautiful.
Poles.
I understand it's beautiful. You're all moved in, right? Everything's all set.
Officially moved in. I do not have a sofa yet, a couch. I have to get one. Everything's on back order because of COVID. So I don't know when the heck I'm going to get it, but yeah, everything else you're good. You'd have everything else here for you.
But do you like the surroundings? Is it something that would you in your thoughts about where you'd want to go over the years? Does this meet expectations, exceed them? What do you think?
Yeah, it exceeds them. I guess the only, if I had to be critical of something, it's just, not having my family close by.
Yeah.
I had a chance to walk my parents around post for the first time on Father's Day, and that was really emotional for us because, they've kind of been they've been my rocks through a lot of ups and downs. And, for them to even get to this point with me where they can enjoy it and kind of look around and say, whew, hard work pays off, miss. And, and they're just such great positive and encouraging forces in my life. And they certainly don't let me, they don't let me get too comfortable either. They're very honest about, where I need to be and what their aspirations are for me. And they hold me to a high standard too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I give them a lot of credit. But yeah, it's a beautiful spot. My folks love it. Trees everywhere, mountains to climb. Georgia gets to run around with other dogs here. I go on some incredible runs, some trail runs here. Mm-hmm. You go by Trophy Point. I mean, Trophy Point is $1 million view, and if anyone gets the opportunity to come see it, you got to check it out.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
Yeah.
Especially now that I got the nice new car that I can just sort of cruise happily deal out there.
There you go.
I usually say some of the tougher questions for the end of the interview. So one thing we have talked about before in the podcast is the level of personal commitment it takes to make the climb up the coaching ladder. I mean, you entered coaching around, I think, 2008, if I'm not mistaken, and then from the high school ranks onto the colleges, now Division III, Division II, now Division I. And, to make that climb, I mean, I've seen people enter coaching and not get past a certain point and then change their lives. I've seen people try to go that route and, have families and all that, and it gets tougher because of the commitments. At this stage of your life, Missy, how difficult is it to keep that commitment? Does the joy of coaching make up for everything, or is it tough? Tell me about it.
Yeah,
you've been at this for a while now, kid.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think work is everything. I don't. I certainly bring my whole self to work every day, and I pour into my coaches and my players. I don't know how to do it any other way, which at the end of the day, you'd think would be pretty exhausting, because you wouldn't have anything left over at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully finding someone and a teammate for life eventually and settling down and hopefully merging both of them together. Mm-hmm. But it's hard, Mark. It's not easy. It's like anything else, it's finding that right fit and personality that understands kind of how my life operates and being in a relationship it takes work. It takes sacrifice. And, right now I'm just giving 100% of my commitment to this job. And, but yeah, I mean, it does get lonely for sure. I can answer this honestly. I have no problem being vulnerable. It's not, it's not easy. It's not easy. And I'd love someday for that to be different. I'm not going to force it, but, hopefully it's in my future plans. I certainly don't want to turn it away.
I mentioned this just before we started our interview, is that one of my previous interviews was with a fellow by the name of Ray Martell, whom you've met, a former Bishop Fee in Shamrock, who is the
Yep.
executive producer of New York Mets baseball broadcasts on WCBS, and we had a great podcast out of that. And one thing he mentioned to me, and I didn't realize this, is that earlier in his career, he has done a lot of play-by-play, and some of the play-by-play he has done has been for Army basketball, both men's and women's.
Wow.
So
Funny.
when he found out that you were going to be the head coach, he immediately called the folks, up there where you are and said, geez, if you need anybody to do a couple of games here and there, I'd really love to, because we could have a Bishop Fian convergence here. And I think that would be pretty cool, because certainly, I know Ray has become a bigger fan. He's older than you are, but I mean, it's certainly everybody, the Fian community seems to come together at times like this anyway. And I know that, he'd love to do the play-by-play and maybe even be able to get you the post-game interview and all that. So,
neat. That's neat. It's so funny. Like this basketball takes you in a million different directions, and I'm like, how did I get here? Like sometimes I look around, like, how did I get here? And then people reach out to you, and they're like, oh, hey, I know this person that knows this person, and just had a lot of those kind of outreach since I was hired, and Ray was one of them, and that's pretty neat. No, the Fian connection is real, and been a big part of my development. So I would love that. I would love to talk to Ray after a game, or hopefully one that we win. I'm better after we win. No.
Yeah, but you actually, I watched a lot of the Adelphi games, and you're pretty good. Well, you didn't lose that much at Adelphi for one thing, but you're pretty good no matter what. You've got, well, actually, because that's your degree from Maine was in broadcast journalism, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Not that you ever put that to use, but I mean.
No, I'm not as good as you are, Mark. You're definitely. You're better at it than I am.
Late in my career, perhaps, but so I guess if there's anything that you want to add to this, I mean, anything that you feel that you'd like to say to the folks back here in my burgeoning viewership of the Owner's Box.
I think just there's so many misconceptions about Army West Point. I think from a recruiting standpoint, that it's really been eye-opening talking to other coaches here, the football coaches, the lacrosse, baseball, even the men's basketball, and there's this feeling of like, oh, I'm going to the Army, so that means I'm going to have shoot people and knock doors down and live in the woods, and that's not the case. There's 17 branches in the Army, 17, and infantry is one of them. So it's just what the sell here is so much bigger than what people let on, in terms of how you can grow as a person, the leadership component, what your bank account's going to look like. You're going to walk out of here debt free for your post grad and your undergrad. And that's huge, being 5 years out, 10 years out and starting fresh, traveling the world. I mean, there's so many bright spots here at Army West Point. And I've really enjoyed learning about kind of combating that negative recruiting, because I'll tell you what, this place is something special, and you have to see it to believe it. And you have to be around these incredible human beings every day to really get it.
And the disciplines that are taught academically there are going to be a huge benefit to a lot of people who graduate from there.
Oh my goodness, our engineer program. I mean, you need to have trig, chemistry, pre-cal. I mean, it is hard to get in here. If you are West Point, you have separated yourself. You're a West Pointer, you've separated yourself from your peers. And, a lot of coaches talk about what you can do for them, whether it's win championships, cut down nets. And West Point is all about what West Point can do for you and your career and your future. And it transforms you as a person. It transforms your network. And it's really just, it's simply amazing. But I guess that's the only thing I want to add, because who knows, there could be some future Black Knights, local Black Knights that I want to talk to and recruit in your area, in my hometown. And I hope there is, because this is a special place, and I'm looking forward to walking people around this campus.
Well, Missy, as always, I wish you the best of luck at this. I know, having known you for as long as I have, I know the kind of commitment you bring to something, and I think that, from what I know, would seem to me to dovetail with the mission of the United States Military Academy at West Point. So, and I also think if you get them into the NCAA tournaments, you really deserve an officer's commission. You really deserve, you deserve some oak leaves or something on your shoulders. So, but I know they don't do that. But folks, that was Missy Traversi, the head women's basketball coach at Army West Point. Thank you for joining me, Missy. Let's get back together again when you're a little bit more comfortable into the season, and maybe after you've got when you get some time to talk. I know it's going to be hectic for you, and I promise you I'll be up there to see a couple of games.
Can't wait to see you, Mark. Thanks, buddy.
We'll be back to wrap up this episode after a word from our sponsors. Hi, welcome back to the Owner's Box after dark. Episode 49 is almost in the books, and I do want to thank my guest, Missy Traversi, the head women's basketball coach at Army West Point. I think she's going to do good things there. I really do. And before we leave, a couple of notes. You can subscribe to the Owner's Box after dark. On YouTube, just go to YouTube, search for the Owner's Box After Dark, and then you'll find it. You'll find my channel. You'll find all of the episodes, all 49 of them now. Wow. And you will be able to subscribe to it, no cost. Click on them anytime, and then I think you can get notifications when a new one is in. So I would think that's a great deal. You can also subscribe to my original podcast, The Owner's Box, which is the audio version. And that is a no-cost thing, too. Costs you nothing to do it. Just go on to any of the most popular podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Odyssey, which used to be radio.com, and the iHeartRadio mobile app. And I think you can find them easily. Just click on them, subscribe to the podcast, doesn't cost you anything, and most of them will download the episode directly to your smartphone. I got a message? Oh. And you should, and you can listen to it at your heart's content. You can go sit in your car, listen to, if you have to commute, listen to me instead of those dumb radio shows. Good, happy guests, fun to do. I'm glad I'm getting a little bit of an audience there. So I want to thank again Missy Traversi. I want to thank the folks here at Duck and Cover Productions. They are laboring through incredibly awful conditions once they go outside the building, and it is something else. And I guess I'm hearing that in the weekend it's going to be actually cool again. So if you want to give me some feedback, you can send me an email at theownersbox2020@gmail.com. Or you could send me snail mail at The Owner's Box, Post Office 272, Mansfield, Massachusetts 02048. And don't forget to check out my website, which is theownersbox2020.com. It's where Blogging Fearlessly ended up after many years of being in the local newspaper. I put columns, thoughts, pictures. Restaurant reviews are back. You check those out. Restaurant reviews are back. And all sorts of great information. In fact, I even now have a little notification. If you go to the website, you'll see new content up at the top, and it'll tell you what's new on the post. So you can go down. Or it's available on your smartphone, too, in a different version, but you can read all the stuff that I put on there. So feel free to do that. So, quick little thoughts. Beware of the Delta variant of COVID-19. God, I wish we'd stop being able to talk about it. So that's why I still have about 10 years worth of 10 years worth of Purell sitting around here. Well, that's going to sound good, I bet. And as you can see, I'm sanitizing. I really make a point of trying to keep myself as sanitized as I possibly can. So, thanks for joining us. Thank you again for being loyal to the podcast, being loyal to this one, in fact. And even though vacation is looming, I hope to have episode 50 out before I head off to the beach. So, thanks again, and good night, everybody.